Imagine lying beneath the night sky, the stars stretched like scattered diamonds, each one so far away that your mind can barely measure the distance. And then a thought arrives quietly. What if none of it is real? What if the shining galaxies, the pulsing atoms, even the feeling of your hand resting against your chest, are all part of a vast simulation, a dream woven not by chance, but by design? This idea, once whispered by philosophers, now stirs inside scientific halls. Tonight, let us wander into this possibility, slowly, gently, as if the universe itself were listening. The whisper that reality is not solid. There has always been a quiet suspicion hiding between human thoughts that what we touch and see may not be as solid as it seems. You press your hand against wood and call it firm, but science tells us it is mostly empty space, electrons spinning in vast gaps. That small realization makes you wonder, could solidity itself be a trick of the senses, a simulation built to convince us of stability? The whisper grows louder when we notice how fragile perception really is. Your eyes cannot see beyond certain wavelengths, your ears cannot hear beyond a range, yet you believe you know the full truth of reality. If our senses can be fooled so easily, is it really far-fetched to think the whole stage is designed? Even children sense it sometimes, asking why the world feels dreamlike at night, or why moments of déjà vu feel like repeating lines in a script. Adults often brush it away, calling it imagination, yet the whisper does not vanish. It stays quiet and unsettling, like background static in a system. Throughout history, this suspicion has been carried like a secret seed. Mystics, monks, and thinkers from ancient India to Greece spoke of life as illusion, as shadow, as dream. They lacked computers but still sensed something unreal pressing behind the curtain of existence. The whisper remains in us today, not fully proven, not fully denied. It is the seed that makes us pause before declaring the universe solid fact. And instead, ask the gentle, haunting question: what if reality itself is no more than a simulation? Why ancient philosophers already suspected an illusion. Long before circuits, codes, or glowing screens, wise minds were already doubting the solidity of the world. In India, the idea of Maya described reality as a grand illusion, a play staged for the human spirit. Plato in Greece told the tale of prisoners in a cave, mistaking shadows for truth. Such visions sound strangely familiar when we now speak of simulations. Philosophers were not fooled by the convincing surfaces of daily life. They noticed the patterns, the repetitions, the strange logic guiding the cosmos. They asked, if reality is so patterned, could it be a projection, a design meant to keep us occupied? When they spoke of illusion, they did not mean life was meaningless. Instead, they meant reality might be layered, with the true source hidden, waiting beyond. Just as in a play, the audience may laugh or cry while forgetting the stage and the actors, the similarity to modern simulation theory is striking. Today, we imagine programmers beyond the veil writing rules in cosmic code. The ancients imagined gods, creators, or pure consciousness weaving the play. Different words, but the same suspicion: that what we see is not the ultimate truth. And so, across cultures and centuries, the same question keeps circling back, like a haunting melody in human thought. Could life, in all its vivid color, be a carefully designed illusion? The strange familiarity of life as a dream. Think of the last dream you had. Inside it, you believed it was real. The people, the places, the emotions. Only when you woke did you realize it was a fragile construction. What if waking life itself is only another dream, one with tighter rules, longer hours, but still a dream within something larger? Many have felt this uncanny overlap, a sudden moment in the day when reality feels soft, like a curtain swaying in the wind. You shake your head, return to routine, but the feeling lingers, that sense of déjà vu, of repetition, of staged events. Stories from mystics often describe awakening as the realization that life is dreamlike. They do not mean it as metaphor only, but as literal experience. As if the mind catches sight of the scaffolding beneath reality, like seeing the wires holding up the stage. Modern science adds its own twist. Virtual reality today can trick the mind into believing a false world. If we can build small simulations, why not imagine larger ones so vast that we ourselves live inside them? This strange familiarity, life as dream, may be more than poetry. It may be the echo of a deeper truth, that what feels permanent is only as real as a dream's embrace. When science meets philosophy at midnight, there is a beautiful moment when science, usually concerned with measurements and numbers, begins to overlap with the old philosophical doubts. At midnight talks, scientists sometimes admit the equations feel like rules in a program, neat, coded, astonishingly precise. Is nature discovered, or is it written? Philosophy asks the why, science asks the how. But when you stare long enough at quantum mechanics, black holes, or cosmic constants, the boundary blurs. Both disciplines point to something uncanny, something designed. Even great physicists like John Wheeler spoke of it from bit, suggesting that reality itself may be information at the core. Not matter, not energy, but data. A thought so bold it nearly sounds like myth, reborn in mathematical clothes. The deeper science digs, the more the language resembles programming, constants that never change, algorithms of evolution, codes of DNA, rendering of light. It begins to feel less like a random accident and more like a system running elegantly. And so science and philosophy meet not as enemies, but as travelers on the same mysterious path, both whispering the same midnight truth. Maybe, just maybe, the universe is a simulation. Why physics looks like rules in a game. Think of the games we create. Each has rules, limits, boundaries of possibility. You cannot run faster than coded speed. You cannot pass beyond invisible walls. Does our universe not feel strangely similar? Light has a maximum speed, matter follows strict laws, time ticks in only one direction. These are not loose guidelines, but rigid systems, unbreakable, no matter who you are. A stone falls, always. A planet orbits, always. An electron behaves by probabilities, but never outside its script. Gamers often joke about physics engines, the rules that define their worlds. Our own physics seems to be the ultimate engine, perfect in consistency, yet oddly arbitrary. Why should it be this way and not another? The game comparison grows stronger when you think of glitches, particle behavior that makes no sense until observed, space-time warps that defy logic, energy that seems to vanish into black holes. And they remind us of edges in a coded system, places where the rules strain under complexity. And so physics may not only be the study of nature, it may be the study of the rules of the ultimate game, designed to be fair, beautiful, and endlessly puzzling. The pixel-like nature of atoms. When you look closer and closer into matter, there is a strange discovery waiting. Atoms, once thought to be the smallest indivisible building blocks, turn out to be mostly emptiness with particles buzzing around. Go deeper still and you find quarks, energy states, vibrations, but never a smooth, solid continuum. And this layered granularity feels suspiciously like pixels on a screen. Stand far back and you see an image. Clear, solid, whole. Step close and you see the tiny squares of light, the digital grid that builds illusion. Our atoms may be the same, small, indivisible pixels of reality itself. Quantum physics whispers the same idea. It tells us energy comes in discrete packets, never infinite, never flowing as smooth as water. A photon is not a smear of light, but a unit, a step, a chunk, as if nature herself renders reality in digital steps. The thought is unsettling, but also strangely beautiful. That the universe, vast as it is, may be no more continuous than the glow of your phone screen. Its solidity vanishes into blocks of data held together by the illusion of distance and light. And so, atoms may not be foundations but pixels, evidence that reality itself is built up, step by step, frame by frame, in the vast simulation we call existence. Energy as the code beneath matter. Matter can crumble, dissolve, transform. But energy remains, shifting forms like a shapeshifter in a story. The more scientists studied, the more they realized what we call things may simply be arrangements of energy written in different lines of code. Energy is strangely obedient. It never appears out of nothing, never disappears into void, always conserved, always rebalanced, as if following a program too strict to break. This cosmic bookkeeping hints at rules far deeper than random chance. Imagine reality as a giant orchestra, and energy is the music score. The notes may change, but the underlying melody persists. It's not matter that is eternal, but the coded vibration itself. Even Einstein's famous equation whispers of hidden code, E casts MC2. Matter itself dissolves into energy, energy into matter, two sides of the same script. We see objects, but beneath them lies motion, instruction, flow. So perhaps energy is not just fuel, not just spark, but the very code base of the simulation, the hidden script that keeps reality glowing, pulsing, alive. The mystery of quantum glitches. Quantum mechanics is where reality begins to stutter, almost as if the system shows its seams, particles that are waves until watched, cats both alive and dead until observed, outcomes that only exist when attention is placed. It feels less like nature and more like code reacting to the player. Why should observation collapse possibilities? Why does reality wait for us to look before deciding? It is as if the system doesn't waste resources rendering what is not needed, like a video game that only draws the mountain when you turn your head. These glitches are not mistakes but patterns, electrons tunneling through barriers they should not, particles linked at distances too great to be explained. Each event whispers that the rules beneath reality are stranger than the play we watch. Even randomness feels suspicious. Quantum dice rolls that seem unpredictable but always stay within probability bounds, never breaking the code, never leaving the system behind. So perhaps quantum mechanics is not confusion at all. Perhaps it is the shadow of the simulation engine at work, a reminder that reality is less a stage of matter and more a stage of probabilities. Why the speed of light feels like a system limit.
Light is fast, unimaginably so. Yet even this cosmic racer is chained to a speed it cannot break. No signal, no object, no force moves faster than this universal boundary. Why would the cosmos need such a strict limit unless it were coded into its framework? The more we look, the stranger it seems. The speed of light is not only a limit, it is a constant woven everywhere, the same in every corner of the cosmos, never changing, never tired. It behaves like the fixed ceiling in a computer program. Scientists built equations, entire theories, balanced upon this number. Without it, relativity collapses, space-time bends differently, the game itself cannot run. It feels too important, too perfectly chosen, as if locked into the system from the very beginning.
What's more, this limit protects Just as a game engine prevents you from breaking the map by moving too fast, the universe prevents paradox by keeping every traveler below light's ceiling. And so light's limit may be more than physics. It may be the guardrail of the simulation, the invisible fence built to keep reality from tearing apart. The cosmic firewall. Boundaries we cannot cross. Everywhere in science there are boundaries. The event horizon of a black hole, the edge of the observable universe, the limits of measurement itself. These barriers behave like cosmic firewalls, places the system does not allow us to cross. Stand at the horizon of a black hole and information itself seems locked away, hidden forever. Peer at the smallest particles and uncertainty forbids exact knowledge. Look outward at the universe, and expansion places a horizon we can never pass. It feels almost deliberate, as if the system allows exploration but never full access, like areas of a vast game map still marked as locked. Our curiosity pushes forward, but the boundaries remain firm, mysterious, unreachable. These firewalls may not be walls of stone, but rules of the system. They keep the simulation stable, preventing collapse, ensuring balance in the grand design. They limit us not to punish, but to keep the program running smoothly. And so when we meet these barriers, we should not see failure, but perhaps recognize them as the very edges of the simulation. Signs that we are not only explorers of space, but explorers of the code itself. The idea of programmers beyond our universe. When we speak of a simulation, a quiet question rises. If this world is designed, then who are the designers? We build computers, games, and virtual landscapes. So is it impossible to imagine that beings beyond our comprehension might have done the same to us? Perhaps they are not programmers as we picture them, not humans with keyboards, but intelligences so vast and subtle that our language cannot contain them. To ants, a child's shadow might seem like a god. To us, their presence might be mistaken for myth or miracle. Some philosophers whisper that these creators may not even know us individually. Just as we do not name every particle in a simulation we build, they may let the code run, watching only the broad flow, not the details of each human story. And yet, others imagine a more intimate connection. Perhaps the creators enter their simulation, walking among it, experiencing it from within. If so, could they appear as prophets, avatars, or even as ordinary people who sense more than others? The idea is humbling, unsettling, but strangely comforting. That beyond our sky, beyond our limits, may exist programmers who carry the true blueprint of our existence. Could consciousness be the true player? If the universe is a game, who is really holding the controller? Some believe the answer is not the body, not the brain, but consciousness itself. That strange awareness behind your eyes, the witness of every thought. Consciousness feels different from matter. It cannot be measured like weight, cannot be contained like water. It slips past equations, yet it is the most intimate thing we know. Could it be the player seated beyond the simulation, gazing in? Experiments in physics hint that observation changes reality. A particle behaves differently when watched, as if consciousness itself bends the script. It makes one wonder, is the observer not just part of the simulation, but the bridge to something beyond? If consciousness is the true player, then the body is not the you. It is the avatar, the suit worn inside the simulation. Like a dream character, it feels real, yet dissolves when you awaken. The awareness remains untouched, outside time. And so perhaps the secret is not finding the programmers, but realizing we ourselves are the ones playing consciousness infinite, choosing to experience this strange and beautiful game called the universe. The screen and the observer, who really sees? Everywhere you look, there is a question hiding. Do your eyes see the world, or does the world only appear once your mind translates it? If reality is a screen, then who is really sitting in the theatre? The brain does not see light directly. It receives signals, processes them, and paints a picture. You are not seeing the world, you are seeing the brain's rendering of the world. Already, reality is one step removed, like an image on a screen. Some scientists compare it to pixels and frames. The eye refreshes reality in flashes, the mind stitches them together, and you believe it is seamless. But like a movie, it is illusion held by speed, not continuous truth. The observer complicates everything further. In quantum experiments, reality does not finalize until someone looks. It is as though the screen is blank until the audience arrives, and only then the film begins to play. This leads to a haunting thought. The observer might not be inside the simulation at all, but outside, peering in, watching the screen glow with the story of their own life. The odd comfort of being in a simulation. At first, the idea of being inside a simulation feels unnerving, as if everything is fake, as if meaning collapses. But then slowly, another feeling can emerge. Comfort. If life is a simulation, it means death is not the end. Just as a player logs out of a game but remains alive outside, perhaps we too continue beyond the end of this run. The thought brings a softness, a hope, a sense of safety in the unknown. It also explains suffering in a new way. If this is a training ground, a designed space, then pain and struggle may not be meaningless cruelty, but part of the learning woven into the code. Challenges become lessons, victories become milestones like levels inside a greater journey. And even love, joy, laughter, if simulated, are not diminished. A smile in a dream still warms you. A tear in a film still moves you. Meaning survives because the experience is real to the player, even if the stage is crafted. So perhaps the simulation hypothesis is not cold or empty, but a gentle reassurance that life, in all its strangeness, is part of something bigger, safer, kinder than we imagine. Why randomness might be a designed feature. Life often feels random. The roll of dice, the chance meeting, the unexpected storm. But in games we create, randomness is never truly random. It is coded, designed to surprise, to challenge, to make the story richer. Could our universe be the same? Quantum mechanics already suggests randomness at the deepest level. Yet even there, it obeys probabilities, a framework too neat to be pure chaos. The dice roll, but only within boundaries, like a carefully balanced algorithm, and this design creates wonder. Without randomness, life would be predictable, flat, mechanical. With it, we have surprise, tension, growth. Each moment feels alive because it could unfold in countless ways, yet never outside the boundaries of the rules. Even evolution itself depends on randomness. Small mutations, lucky chances, unexpected paths leading to new species. A system designed with both order and chaos to allow beauty to emerge from uncertainty. And so what looks like randomness may be deliberate. A feature, not a flaw, written into the simulation to make the game not only playable, but meaningful, surprising, and endlessly alive. Time flowing, like a scripted sequence. When you think about time, it feels like a river, flowing steadily forward, pulling us along with no choice but to follow. But what if time is less a river and more a script, pre-written with scenes unfolding one after another, already set long before we step into them? Physics itself hints at this idea. Equations often describe past, present, and future as equal, all existing, all written. It is only our experience that makes them feel separate, as though the story is playing line by line, though the book already exists, cover to cover. This picture of time can be comforting or frightening. If everything is scripted, then perhaps even our mistakes are part of the grand design. Yet there is mystery here too. If we are inside a script, who is writing it and why? Some traditions suggest the script is flexible, that the author allows improvisation. Small choices ripple through the pages, altering the flow, but never the destination. Like a video game with branching paths, the end is known, but the route is yours to walk. And so time may not be a river, after all, but the careful unfolding of a script, line by line, waiting for us to read it aloud with our very lives. Are we replaying the same cosmic story? What if the universe does not just flow once, but loops? Like a song on repeat, the same melody cycling over and over, each time slightly different yet hauntingly familiar. Could we be living through a story that has already played countless times before? The idea is not new. Ancient philosophers spoke of eternal return, a cycle where events repeat across infinite ages. Even modern physics whispers of oscillating universes, collapsing and expanding, starting again in endless loops. It would explain the strange familiarity we sometimes feel, as though we have walked these steps before, loved these people before, lost these moments before, not only in memory, but in another round of the same cosmic cycle. If this is true, then history itself might not be a straight arrow, but a circle. Civilizations rise, fall, and rise again. Stars ignite, fade, and ignite again. And we, tiny players, take our roles in the play as though auditioning in each cycle. The comfort here is profound. If life repeats, then endings are never final. There is always another chance, another cycle, another unfolding of the same eternal story. Déjà vu as a possible glitch. You have felt it before, Aki, the eerie sensation that the present moment has already happened, that you have stood in this place, heard these words, breathed this exact breath before. Déjà vu? A fleeting feeling often dismissed, but what if it is a glimpse of the system itself? Some scientists call it memory misfiring, the brain confusing present with past. But others wonder if it might be evidence of something stranger, a brief echo, a small glitch in the simulation, where the code stutters and reveals repetition. Think of how games sometimes freeze, replaying a scene, repeating a sound. Déjà vu feels eerily similar, a tiny pause where the system falters, then resumes as if nothing happened. Only the player notices, carrying the unsettling memory forward. It could also be tied to the looping idea of existence. Perhaps déjà vu is not a mistake, but a reminder that you have indeed lived this moment before, in another cycle, another run of the program. Whatever the cause, déjà vu is one of those intimate mysteries, too personal to ignore, too fleeting to prove, a small whisper that reality may not be as smooth as we believe. The uncanny silence of deep space. When radio waves reach out into the cosmos searching for voices, what do we hear in return? Silence. An uncanny, vast, almost deliberate silence. Could it be that deep space itself is not empty but unrendered, unneeded, until observed? Scientists call it the Fermi paradox. With billions of stars, countless planets, life should be abundant. Yet the sky remains quiet, no signal, no visitors, no great civilizations answering. Unless, of course, the system was never coded with them at all. In a simulation, you only render what is necessary. A game may suggest a vast city, but only the streets you walk are detailed. Could the universe be the same? Appearing endless, but silent beyond the boundaries we actually explore. The silence could be intentional too. A firewall against outside contact, a rule to keep the players focused on their own story, not distracted by worlds never meant to exist. So the silence of space may not be absence, but design. An elegant emptiness written into the code, leaving us with the haunting sense that we may be very much alone in the simulation. Why black holes resemble data compressors? Black holes are the strangest of cosmic beings, swallowing light, bending time, hiding their secrets behind an event horizon no one can cross. Yet the more we study them, the more they resemble not monsters of gravity but machines of information. Stephen Hawking suggested black holes store information on their surface, compressing it like data on a hard drive. Matter falls in, energy changes, but the data remains encoded, hidden in ways we barely understand. It is less destruction, more storage.
Even their shape feels technological, a sphere with boundaries, a limit beyond which nothing escapes. The resemblance to a compression algorithm is uncanny, reducing vast amounts of information into a smaller, encrypted state. Some imagine black holes as gateways, not tombs but transporters, shuttling compressed data to another part of the simulation. Perhaps entire galaxies are copied, stored, and moved across dimensions we cannot see. And so black holes may not only be the strangest objects in the universe, they may be the clearest hint that our reality runs not only on energy and matter, but on information itself, compressed, preserved, and waiting to be revealed. The cosmic background radiation, a faint static in the system. If the universe is a simulation, then surely there must be traces of its beginning. The cosmic background radiation is one of those traces, a faint glow like static on an old television screen, humming quietly in every corner of space.
Scientists say it is the echo of the Big Bang, the afterglow of creation. But to some it feels like something else. Background noise, a leftover vibration like the system's hum that never turns off. When you tune an old radio between stations, you hear static. Hidden in that static is cosmic radiation, billions of years old, reaching us from the very birth of time. Why should a universe carry such a faint buzz unless it is the residual sound of a system still running? The uniformity of this radiation is also strange. It is almost perfectly even, as though painted across the sky, like a programmer applying a background layer to a screen. So maybe the cosmic background radiation is not only a memory of the past, but a signature of the system itself, the whispering static of a universe still powered by hidden machinery. Stars as light sources in a vast stage. When you stand beneath the night sky, the stars feel endless. Scattered jewels across the blackness, each burning with its own story. But what if, instead of being countless suns, they are more like stage lights, illuminating the grand theatre of our existence? The way stars behave is peculiar. They twinkle, pulse, align in patterns. Constellations seem designed to guide us, not random at all. What if their primary role is to light the stage, not to host billions of alien civilization? Stage lights do not need to be functional cities. They need only to be convincing, to give the play atmosphere and depth. Our stars might be similar, coded brilliance to create awe, to set the scene for the human story. Even their life cycle feels written, born in nurseries, burning bright, collapsing in drama, like the arcs of characters in a novel. Too poetic, too cinematic, to be mere physics alone. And so the stars above may be more than suns. They may be the simulation's lights, dazzling spotlights reminding us that we are on a vast and mysterious stage. The universe, rendering only what's observed. There is a curious thought in physics. Reality may not exist until it is observed. Quantum mechanics hints at it, suggesting particles remain in possibility until someone looks. It is as if the universe only bothers to render what the observer demands. Think of a video game. When you turn away from a mountain, the system does not waste power rendering it in detail. Only when you look does it bloom into existence. Could our universe be running on the same principle? This idea explains why space feels so empty, so silent. Perhaps it is not fully rendered until we extend our gaze, launch our telescopes, send our probes. And even then, what we see may be generated for our eyes alone. It also explains why no experiment ever escapes the observer. No matter how we test, measure, or probe, the system responds to our observation, as though it waits for us before it finalizes its code. So reality may be stranger than we think, not fixed, not permanent, but a canvas that only appears when painted by the brush of our attention, the unfinished edges of the cosmos. When we map the universe, we see a strange picture, a cosmos expanding, stretching faster and faster, carrying galaxies beyond our view. But beyond the observable universe lies nothing we can know, a hidden edge, a place forever locked from sight. Why should such edges exist? If the universe is infinite, why can we only see a fraction? Some wonder if the edges are not physical at all, but the unrendered borders of the simulation, the parts of the map not coded until needed. In games, unfinished edges exist too. A mountain that vanishes when you walk too far, a door that will not open, an ocean that repeats endlessly. Could the cosmos itself be coded with similar edges, horizons we cannot pass? Even the speed of light ensures we can never reach beyond, as if the system itself guards its unfinished borders, keeping us focused on the part of the universe that matters to our story. So maybe the unfinished edges are not empty, but simply unwritten pages of a script waiting for a reason, a purpose, a player to need them. Mathematics, the language of code itself. Why should the universe obey mathematics so perfectly? Why should numbers, equations, and patterns describe everything from falling apples to spiraling galaxies with eerie precision? Unless, of course, mathematics is not discovery, but the very code the universe is written in. Think of a game's engine. Beneath the graphics and sound lies pure code, numbers defining every movement, every interaction. Our universe feels no different. Hidden beneath stars and atoms are equations, constants, and ratios, always reliable, always precise. Mathematics is not only useful, it is strangely elegant. Pi, the golden ratio, fractals, patterns that repeat in shells, trees, hurricanes, galaxies. They feel less like accidents and more like signatures left by the programmer of the cosmos. Even randomness bends to mathematics. Probability, statistics, quantum states. Chaos itself follows laws that can be written and predicted. And this is not disorder, but code at work, hidden behind the illusion of surprise. So mathematics may not just be a tool we invented, it may be the underlying programming language of reality, the very script upon which the simulation is running, patterns that appear too perfect. When we look at nature, there is something suspicious about how perfect its patterns are. Spirals in shells, hexagons in honeycombs, branching in trees, all repeating with mathematical precision. Why should chance produce such elegance over and over? The more scientists study, the stranger it becomes. From the smallest molecules to the largest galaxies, similar shapes emerge. Spirals, fractals, waves. It feels like the universe is copying itself, following a template already written in the background code. These patterns soothe us because they feel familiar. Even if we don't understand the math, our eyes recognize order. It's as if reality is whispering, "Yes, I am structured, I am designed, I am written with intention." Chaos does exist, storms rage, randomness stirs, yet out of the storm, order reappears, as though the system is programmed to restore balance. Beauty rises not in spite of chaos, but because chaos is guided by hidden rules. So perhaps the patterns we admire are not accidents. They are fingerprints of the simulation, signs left behind by the underlying code of the universe. The golden ratio, nature's hidden algorithm. Among all patterns, one number seems to rule them all: the golden ratio. 1.618, a simple fraction that appears in flowers, seashells, hurricanes, galaxies, and even in the proportions of the human body. Why would a single number appear in so many places? Unless it is not an accident, but an algorithm, a design principle baked into the very code of the simulation. Like a programmer's favorite shortcut, written again and again into different parts of the program. Architects have used it, artists have celebrated it, nature seems to worship it. Wherever we look, the golden ratio balances beauty with function, efficiency with grace. It feels almost too perfect to be natural randomness. Even our perception of beauty seems tuned to it. Faces, paintings, buildings that follow the golden ratio are felt to be harmonious, pleasing, as if our minds too are wired to recognize the underlying code. So the golden ratio may not only be math, it may be the universe's algorithm, a glimpse at the script that shapes both nature and our sense of wonder. Music as evidence of structured reality. Listen to a song. The notes rise, fall, repeat, harmonize. Music feels emotional, yet beneath it lies pure mathematics. Frequencies, ratios, vibrations, all locked into precise relationships. Why should sound follow such orderly laws? Even across cultures, music obeys patterns. Scales built on mathematical steps, harmonies pleasing because of numerical ratios. The same structures appear in distant civilizations that never met, as if the rules were written into the simulation itself. Nature echoes this too. Birds sing in scales, whales hum in patterns, planets resonate in orbits that sound like silent chords. The universe itself feels like a grand symphony, coded with mathematical music. When we respond to music emotionally, perhaps it is because our consciousness recognizes the code beneath it. Our hearts beat with rhythm, our breath flows in cycles, our very cells oscillate like tiny instruments. So music may not only be art, it may be evidence that reality itself is structured like a song, a simulation designed not only to function, but to move us deeply with harmony. DNA, a biological programming script. Inside every living thing lies DNA, a molecule carrying instructions. 4 letters, A, T, G, C, arranged like code, spelling out the construction of life. What could be more like programming than this? DNA is astonishingly efficient. Billions of bits of information packed into spirals smaller than dust, telling cells when to grow, when to heal, when to die. It is not random chaos, but carefully sequenced commands. Mutations and errors can occur, but even they act like changes in code, sometimes breaking the system, sometimes creating new features, sometimes unlocking hidden potential. Evolution itself feels like patches and updates applied over countless generations. We call it biology, but the resemblance to software is uncanny, and just as programmers use code to create virtual beings, so nature uses DNA to generate every plant, animal, and human in existence. So maybe DNA is not just chemical. It may be the clearest evidence that life itself runs on code, written into the grand simulation by the hand of something beyond. Evolution as iterative software updates. When you look at life's history, it feels less like a random drift and more like a process of upgrades. From single cells to multicellular beings, from ocean creatures to land dwellers, from primitive tools to complex societies, each step like a new version release. Evolution is not smooth. It comes in bursts, leaps, sudden transformations. Mass extinctions wipe the slate, new species emerge, ecosystems reset. Like a system reboot, clearing bugs, installing new updates. Genes adapt, traits shift. Survival chooses what works in us. It is trial and error, but never without direction, always pushing toward complexity, intelligence, awareness, as though the simulation itself seeks to level up. We see it even now. Viruses mutating, species adapting to climate, humans inventing technology that reshapes the environment. Evolution continues like ongoing patches in a living program. And so perhaps evolution is not blind at all. Perhaps it is the universe's update cycle, a way for the simulation to refine itself endlessly, pushing life toward higher forms of consciousness and deeper understanding. Ancient myths, hinting at creators beyond. Long before computers, humans told stories of creators beyond the visible world. In Greece, the gods shaped men from clay. In India, Brahma dreamed creation into being. In Egypt, Ra spoke the world into existence. Myths that now sound like early whispers of a simulation, and these tales carry striking similarities. A higher intelligence designs, sets rules, watches over, and sometimes even intervenes in the world below. Not so different from programmers tweaking their virtual creations would. Even myths of tricksters, Loki, Coyote, Hermes, resemble glitches, beings who bend or break the rules, reminding mortals that the system has seams. The ancients did not have the language of code, but they had imagination. They saw beyond the curtain and painted what they sensed as gods, spirits, architects. Perhaps they were closer to the truth than we think. So when we hear these old myths, we might hear more than stories. We might be hearing humanity's first intuitions of being inside a vast and carefully coded design. Religious parallels to the simulation idea. It is curious how religion and simulation theory seem to circle the same core idea. Christianity speaks of a creator who designed everything, set rules, and watches. Islam describes Allah as the knower of all that is written. Hinduism tells of cosmic cycles of creation and destruction. Strip away the sacred names and what remains is startlingly similar. A system, a designer, a purpose beyond human comprehension. The words differ, the rituals change, but the structure echoes the language of programming. Prayer, too, resembles communication with the system. A request sent upward, hoping for response. And sometimes, just like in a game, the rules bend and miracles appear. Was it divine power or an exception in the code? Religions often warn of consequences, karma, judgment, paradise, rebirth, as though players are scored by choices, rewarded or reset depending on how well they navigate the system. Perhaps the overlap is no accident. Perhaps faith itself is humanity's way of sensing that life is not random, but built upon hidden code, written by an intelligence beyond, prophets as messengers from the system architect. Throughout history, there are figures who rise and speak words that feel not fully their own. Prophets, sages, visionaries, they claim to have glimpsed truth beyond the world's veil. Could they be messengers from the architect of the simulation? Moses descending with commandments, Buddha awakening beneath a tree, Muhammad receiving revelations, Jesus speaking in parables of higher kingdoms. Each story describes contact with something beyond ordinary human perception. These messengers often return changed. Speaking of order, purpose, rules, and destiny, not unlike a player who steps outside the game for a moment, sees the source code, then re-enters to share what they saw. Skeptics call them mad, believers call them divine. But either way, their role is similar, to remind us that the visible world is not the full truth, that hidden behind it is something vast and deliberate. And so perhaps prophets are more than holy figures. Perhaps they are bridges, voices carrying whispers from the architect who wrote the system itself. Dreams as temporary logouts. Each night, without fail, we surrender ourselves to dreams, slipping into worlds that feel real, only to dissolve at dawn. What if dreams are not mere imagination but small logouts from the simulation? In dreams we defy physics. We fly, we shapeshift, we speak with the dead. The rules bend, the code loosens, as though we've stepped into a sandbox outside the strict program of waking life. Some dreams feel ordinary, but others shake us to our core. Meetings with beings, messages that guide us, visions of future or past. Could these be glimpses of the system beyond? Cultures have long treated dreams as portals. Native shamans, ancient Egyptians, Tibetan monks all believed dreams were not illusions, but real journeys into hidden layers of existence. Perhaps when we dream, we step briefly outside the simulation. Our consciousness reconnects with the player beyond, reminding us that the waking world is only one layer of the vast design. Near-death experiences as debugging moments. There are those who nearly die and return with stories too vivid to dismiss. They speak of tunnels of light, life reviews, encounters with beings beyond comprehension. What if near-death experiences are not hallucinations, but moments when the simulation debugs? At the edge of death, the program may loosen. Boundaries soften, rules bend, allowing glimpses of the architecture beyond. The person hovers between worlds, half in the code, half outside, until they are sent back to continue. Strikingly, these experiences share patterns: love beyond measure, visions of order, the sense of being connected to everything. It feels less like a dream, more like stepping into the control room of the system itself. Some return with knowledge they should not have. Insights about the future, clarity about the universe, or new abilities. As though the debugging process rewrote part of their code before sending them back. So perhaps near death is not the end, but a pause, a temporary suspension where the system resets, reveals its secrets, then allows the player to re-enter the game of life. Synchronicities as small system winks. Every so often, life gives you a moment too coincidental to ignore. You think of someone and they call, you dream of a place and see it the next day. Numbers repeat on clocks and receipts. We call these synchronicities, but what if there's something more? Inside a simulation, small messages can be left for players, hints, Easter eggs, little winks from the code to remind them they're inside a larger story. Could synchronicities be that? Not accidents, but deliberate nudges to guide our path. Carl Jung saw them as meaningful coincidences, signposts of an unseen order. They arrive not randomly, but when we need them most. In crises, decisions, awakenings, like whispers from the system saying, "You're on track," or "Look deeper here." Skeptics call it pattern seeking, the mind imposing order on chaos. But the patterns are often too personal, too timely to dismiss. As though the code of reality bends for a moment to leave a breadcrumb for your soul. So maybe synchronicities are not just strange events, but small system winks, gentle reminders that behind the stage of reality, someone or something is still paying attention to your story. Why some lives feel scripted. Have you ever felt like your life was already written? That certain meetings were inevitable, certain twists unavoidable, like chapters already printed waiting for you to live them? Some people feel this strongly, a sense of destiny, of walking a path laid out long before. It may be frightening but also comforting, as though an unseen hand is shaping the plot. If the universe is a simulation, then our lives may be storylines running on deep code, major events fixed, minor choices flexible, like a game with a main quest and side missions. We feel freedom, yet sense the rails beneath. Sometimes this scripted feeling shows up in coincidences. Meeting the right person at the right time, surviving impossible odds, stumbling onto the one thing you were meant to do. The timing is too elegant, the arc too clean. So perhaps some lives do feel scripted because they are threads woven into the simulation's master plot, designed not to limit us, but to carry us to the moments our soul came here to experience. The probability of parallel runs. If one simulation can exist, why not many? Just as we run multiple copies of a program to test different outcomes, could the universe be running parallel versions of itself? This would explain the strange feeling of alternate lives, dreams of other worlds, flashes of memories we never lived, the eerie sense that somewhere another you took a different turn. Scientists already explore this idea in the many worlds interpretation of quantum physics. Every choice splits reality. Every outcome happens somewhere, all running side by side like countless files open at once. In a simulation, this is easy. Copy the code, change a variable, run again. The universes would look similar but diverge in details, each unfolding its own story. We might even sense the echoes between them, déjà vu intuition, odd coincidences that feel borrowed from another run. So the probability of parallel runs is not fantasy. It may be the quiet truth that you are not one story but many playing across a multiverse of code. Alternate timelines as saved files. Think of a game where you can save before a big decision. Try one path, then reload, and try another. What if the universe itself works the same way, storing save files of reality at certain points? This would make sense of time slips, strange prophecies, visions of the future that come true. They could be glimpses of another saved file, a moment from a timeline we haven't yet walked. Our minds may even access these saved states in dreams, déjà vu, or sudden intuition. A brief overlap between one run and another, like reading a page from a book before you reach it in the story. In a simulation, saved files would also allow resets after catastrophic errors. An extinction undone, a disaster averted, a timeline rewritten, without players knowing. We might be living in a version that has already been corrected. So alternate timelines may not be abstract theory, but practical system features in backups of reality ready to be restored when the story demands it. Multiverse as a massive data farm. If countless universes exist, then where are they stored? What holds them, powers them, keeps them running simultaneously? Perhaps the multiverse is less a poetic concept and more a data farm, a cosmic server hosting endless simulations. This would explain the enormous emptiness of space, not emptiness at all, but capacity, a digital warehouse where entire realities can be spun up, tested, archived. Our universe would be one of countless instances, each with different rules, constants, histories, some short-lived, some expansive, some never observed, all part of a grand experiment too vast for us to imagine. Even black holes could be portals between these instances. Data compressed in one reality, unpacked in another. Entire worlds migrating across servers like files in a network. And so the multiverse may not be chaos, but infrastructure. A massive data farm where existence itself is stored, run, and perhaps, someday, accessed by the consciousness that built it all. The question of free will inside a program. If reality is coded, then what of our choices? Are we truly free, or are our decisions already mapped like paths in a program? This question has stirred philosophers for centuries, but it becomes sharper under the simulation lens. Think of a video game character, and they can roam, jump, explore, yet always inside the limits of the code. Perhaps our free will is the same. Real within the system, but bounded by unseen rules. Still, the experience feels genuine. The weight of decision, the sting of regret, the joy of success. If it were all illusion, why would it feel so alive? Maybe the designers wanted us to believe fully in our agency, to learn through choice. Some argue that even limited freedom is still freedom. Just as a bird cannot swim like a fish but still chooses its sky, we too may have space to move, to shape, to create inside the framework. So free will inside a program may not be total, but it may be enough to make the game meaningful, enough to give our lives the sense of being truly ours. Are our choices preloaded or real? Every decision you make, what to eat, where to go, who to love, feels spontaneous, yet some scientists suggest our brains decide milliseconds before we consciously know, almost like the program already knows the path before we walk it. This idea unsettles us. If choices are preloaded, then are we just passengers watching a film we think we're starring in? Or is there still room for something deeper to guide the unfolding? Perhaps choices are both pre-written and free. The major story points may be fixed: birth, death, destiny, but the details are fluid, improv, left for us to play. Like a game with main quests and branching side missions. The sense of choice may itself be part of the design, a way to immerse us fully in the simulation so that every laugh, tear, and decision feels weighty and real. So maybe the mystery is not whether our choices are real, but whether the definition of real includes both freedom and pre-written guidance, woven seamlessly together in the simulation of life. The feeling of agency inside rules. It is curious how even in strict systems we feel free. A dancer follows music's rhythm yet feels expressive. A chess player abides by rules yet feels creative. Agency blooms inside structure. Could life be the same? The laws of physics confine us. We cannot walk through walls, cannot leap to the stars, cannot freeze time. Yet within these limits, our choices still matter, shaping our stories uniquely. Even in games, players find individuality. Though every avatar runs on the same code, no two playthroughs are ever alike. Agency emerges not from infinite possibility, but from personal expression within limits. Perhaps this is the true secret. Freedom is not boundless but relational. It exists because rules exist. Without structure, choice has no meaning. Without gravity, flight has no wonder. And so agency inside rules may be not a trap, but a gift. The simulation grants us limits so that our freedom has weight, direction, and meaning. Why love still feels outside the code. Among all human experiences, love feels the strangest to fit into a simulation. Chemistry explains hormones, psychology explains attachment. Yet when you fall in love, it feels larger than biology, larger than code. It feels timeless. Love disobeys reason. It bridges distance, defies obstacles, bends lives in ways logic cannot. It is messy, irrational, yet profoundly real. If all else were programmed, love feels like something imported from beyond the simulation. Some traditions suggest love is the essence of the soul, the one thing the system cannot simulate fully. A flame from outside, carried into the program by consciousness itself. Even near-death experiences often report love as the ultimate truth, a love that feels infinite, not generated, not coded, but woven into the fabric of existence beyond. So perhaps love is the clue we overlook. the fingerprint of the source, reminding us that no matter how convincing the simulation is, there is something in us that transcends it. Art as the soul's fingerprint beyond simulation. When we create art, something mysterious happens. Out of pigments, sounds, words, emerges beauty that seems greater than its parts. Why would a simulation need art at all, unless it were an expression of something beyond the system? Art has no strict function, and it does not feed us, clothe us, or shelter us. Yet humans across ages and cultures feel compelled to paint, sing, carve, write, as though leaving signatures in the simulation, proof of a soul beyond code. Every artist describes moments of inspiration they cannot explain. Ideas arrive unbidden, visions flow as if borrowed. Could art be the soul leaking into the system, creating what no algorithm could predict? Even machines trained on patterns can imitate style, but they struggle to capture the raw imperfection, the trembling humanity that makes true art timeless. That trembling may be the mark of something not bound by rules. So art may be more than creation inside the simulation. It may be evidence that part of us exists beyond it, leaving fingerprints of the soul for all to see. Imagination as a portal to the source. There is something about imagination that feels larger than the mind. A child closes their eyes and creates a world. An inventor sees a machine years before it is built. An artist paints landscapes no eye has ever seen. Where does this power come from? Some say imagination is simply memory rearranged, but often it feels like more, a door to something not yet written in the simulation, as though consciousness taps into a source outside the system and borrows fragments of possibility. Think of how many of our greatest inventions began in imagination. Airplanes, satellites, the internet. Ideas once impossible, later real. Did imagination plant seeds from beyond the simulation, guiding us toward evolution? Even our dreams blend with imagination, whole universes inside our heads governed by rules both strange and fluid. Could they be rehearsals, portals, or previews of other realities that exist beyond the code? So imagination may not just be fancy. It may be the soul pressing against the walls of the simulation, opening tiny portals to the source beyond. Mystics as those who peek behind the screen. Throughout history, there are people who claim to have pierced the veil. Mystics, sages, seers. They describe visions of light, unity, timelessness, as though they have seen behind the screen of the simulation itself. Their words often sound strange, even contradictory. The world is real, but not real. We are one yet separate. Time is an illusion. These paradoxes frustrate logic, but make sense if they are describing something outside coded rules. Mystics speak of dissolving ego, of merging with something vast. Could it be they momentarily left the simulation, their consciousness stepping outside the system into its true source? Their insights often align across cultures, from Sufi poets to Zen monks, from desert prophets to shamans in forests. All describe a luminous reality beyond the ordinary, a unity behind the multiplicity. Perhaps mystics are not mad, but messengers. Their glimpses behind the screen remind us that the simulation is not the end, only the stage of a far greater story. Meditation, as closing the program, window, briefly. When you sit in silence, close your eyes and breathe deeply, something begins to shift. Thoughts quiet, the noise of the world fades, and you slip into stillness. Could meditation be the closest thing we have to pausing the simulation? In deep meditation, people describe dissolving boundaries, no self, no time, no space, as though the program's interface fades and the raw source hums softly beneath. Brain scans show curious results. Activity lessens in areas tied to self and time. The meditator reports feeling infinite, timeless, connected. Could this be a brief logout from the coded reality? Mystics have long called meditation a path to awakening. They treat it not as escape but as remembrance, a way to recall that this world is temporary, and beyond it lies the true ground of being. So perhaps meditation is more than relaxation. It may be our natural key to stepping outside the simulation, if only for a breath, and remembering who we truly are. Sleep as the daily system reset. Each night, without effort, we surrender to sleep. Consciousness fades, the body stills, the mind drifts. When we wake, we feel restored, renewed. Why should living beings need this strange pause every day, as it is part of the system's reset? Sleep repairs the body, yes, but it also repairs the mind. Memories consolidate, emotions soften, stress resets. The system seems to tidy itself like a program clearing cache, refreshing files, preparing for the next run. Dreams fill the night with stories, strange and vivid. Are they merely random firings, or are they the system's way of running simulations within simulations? Testing, exploring, rebalancing the player for another day. Even when deprived of sleep, the system falters. Hallucinations, confusion, breakdown. It's as if the simulation cannot function without its nightly reset. Proof that rest is coded into the very foundation of life. So sleep may be more than nature's pause. It may be the simulation's daily maintenance, the sacred reset that keeps both body and soul able to continue the game of existence. Death as exiting the simulation. The greatest mystery of all. When the body fails, breath stops and the screen of life goes dark. Is death the end? Or is it simply the player logging out of the simulation? Near-death accounts suggest continuation. Consciousness detaches, observes, travels through light. The simulation ends, but awareness persists, suggesting the player was never truly inside, only connected. Death, then, may be less a tragedy and more a transition. The avatar dissolves, but the true self remains, like turning off a computer without erasing the user who played the game. Religions describe it differently: anti-heaven, rebirth, liberation, yet all hint at the same truth: existence beyond death, a state where the soul returns to the source or enters another run of the program. So perhaps death is not a failure of the system, but its most profound feature. A graceful exit, a reminder that the simulation is only one chapter in the infinite journey of the soul, the possibility of re-entry, reincarnation. If death is an exit, could reincarnation be re-entry? Many traditions across the world whisper this possibility, that souls return wearing new bodies, entering the simulation again to play another round. The stories are haunting. Children who recall lives they never lived, memories of places they've never been, fears and talents too specific to be random. Could these be traces of earlier logins, past simulations still echoing? Reincarnation also explains why some lives feel weighted with unfinished business. A soul re-enters not at random, but at points where lessons remain. Stories need closing, bonds need healing. Even science toys with the idea energy cannot be destroyed, only transformed. If consciousness is energy, then it too must continue reappearing, reshaping, beginning anew. So reincarnation may not be fantasy. It may be the simulation cycle, a system feature that allows the soul to re-enter until its story is fully told. Why memories may be data left behind. Memory is fragile. We forget names, lose moments, misplace entire years. Yet some memories remain vivid for life, while others feel borrowed, as if they are not ours at all. Could memory be more like data in the simulation? In computers, files leave traces even after deletion. Fragments remain, recoverable, floating in the system. Could our minds work the same, carrying echoes from past lives or from timelines we never walked? Déjà vu might be one such fragment, an unexplainable familiarity, a leftover file surfacing at the wrong time, reminding us of something stored long ago. Even collective memory exists, myths, symbols, archetypes repeating across cultures who never met. Perhaps the simulation stores share data accessible to all who tune into it. So memory may not just be brain chemistry, it may be the residue of data, files left behind in the system, waiting to be recalled when the soul needs them most. Ghosts as residual files of the system. Across time, people have spoken of ghosts, presences that linger, shadows that move, voices that whisper. Are they souls or something stranger? If the universe is a simulation, they might be residual files left behind. When a program closes abruptly, fragments remain, half deleted, half stuck, still running in background. Perhaps when a life ends suddenly, pieces of its code remain, repeating, trapped between existence and exit. This could explain why hauntings feel looped. Footsteps in halls, lights flickering, whispers repeating the same words, like corrupted files playing on repeat. Not all ghosts are frightening. Some appear as guardians, loved ones lingering to guide. Perhaps their data remains not because of error, but because of love, anchored like a bookmark in the system. So ghosts may not be proof of chaos or punishment, but simply echoes, the residual files of human lives still echoing in the simulation after the player has logged out. Spiritual awakenings as system messages. There are moments when everything changes in a flash. A sunrise that feels like revelation, a word that awakens the heart, a silence that opens into vastness. Spiritual awakenings arrive unplanned, yet transform lives forever. Could these be system messages? Notifications sent from beyond the simulation, reminding the player of their true nature, nudging them toward awareness. Often, awakening follows suffering, a breakdown, a loss, a dark night of the soul. Just as errors prompt systems to send warnings, pain may be the simulation's way of delivering the update we most need. The awakened often describe seeing the world as dreamlike, luminous, coded with hidden meaning. They live with clarity, as if the system peeled back its curtain for just a moment. So spiritual awakenings may not be accidents. They may be design checkpoints, moments where the simulation delivers a direct message from the source, reminding us who we are beyond the code. Science's reluctance to admit the code. Despite mounting evidence, science often resists the simulation idea. Why? Perhaps because admitting it would unravel too much. The very foundation of what we call real. Scientists rely on measurable facts, testable hypotheses. To say reality itself may be programmed is to admit the ground beneath their instruments may not be ground at all. It feels like pulling the rug out from under centuries of certainty. Yet quietly, some scientists whisper it. Equations look like code, physics like rules of an engine, information like the base layer of reality. The reluctance is not from lack of evidence, but from the enormity of the question. If the universe is code, then science is less discovery and more archaeology, uncovering the architecture of someone else's design. That shifts not only science, but philosophy, spirituality, even identity. So perhaps science resists not because it is false, but because the truth is too vast, too destabilizing, to accept without reshaping everything we know about life itself.